Welcome back to our Ilkhanate. When we left off, we had just slapped the Mamluks upside the head, stole their very wealthy land, and taken up residence in it, kind of like some sort of squatter, which we essentially are, being a horde. Now it's time for us to bring all of our vassals to heel and form the Ilkhanate. We're going to have a rebellion in a little bit, a Iraqi one, and the hope is that, well, it's not really a hope, but a lot of our vassals, or some of them at least, will join the rebellion, and we'll use that as an opportunity to annex some of them. I'm intentionally keeping my diplomatic spending low in order to encourage such an event. Our economy isn't doing great at the moment. We have around 3,000 wealth, but only around 450 base tax. Look at that chart of economic growth. But things are going to change rather rapidly. If we wait a little bit, our economy is going to kind of skyrocket as control increases in these new territories we've taken from the Mamluks, such as Cairo, Alexandria. So even without doing anything, our economy is going to bounce back, as it were. Most of our nation is still uncored, but that's just a minor issue, right? We'll continue working on coring until eventually all of it's cored. I'm not even sure we'll end up coring everything before we finish this campaign, just because there's so much of it to do. We'll try our best, though. We're also going to think about slapping the Ottoman. I'd like to fully drive them from Anatolia and take it for ourselves, but let's focus on forming the Ilkhanate first before we go off on any side objectives. Here's the rebellion we were talking about. A few nations have spawned, but also some of our vassals have joined, which is excellent. As I mentioned, we'll use the opportunity to annex a bunch of them, which will speed up our formation of the Ilkhanate. We're also going to think about fabricating CBs on some of our vassals, as I mentioned last time. As long as we can find ones that meet the requirements for us to form a CB on, we'll do just that. For the ones we can't, we'll think about just integrating them, or perhaps waiting until we get a parliament and then grabbing a parliamentary CB. Rebellions like this are a tad annoying because it means we're likely going to lose some of our local governors that we set up. For example, I'm pretty sure we've lost the one in Baghdad because it joined the rebellion, but it is what it is. There we go, rebellion crushed. This land is likely going to rebel in the future, so we've preemptively demolished all the forts there, so it is easier to clean up. I would have kept attacking people, but unfortunately we've got a Shiite rebellion, so we'll have to crush them first. When will they learn? As you can see, we've got quite a lot of money now. Our nobles are a bit unhappy though. We got a few negative events that pushed their unhappiness down, but that shouldn't really stop us. Our tax base has risen to 1,000, so we're very much profiting from our lands now. Still haven't got 100% control in Cairo though. Yep, there's the Shiite rebellion. We'll go and crush them, and then we'll attack someone else. As discussed last time, we're going to use unorthodox tactics to annex some of our vassals. For example, we've got a CB on this guy here. He's quite large. I think I fed him a bit of land here. So we'll cancel our vassal status with him because we've already got a CB on him. Now we'll attack him using that CB and bring him into the fold that way. We're also going to look for other vassals that are in a similar situation, and then we'll see if we can't annex them. We're going to spend quite a bit on diplomacy because I want as many diplomats as I can, since we're going to need to fabricate quite a few CBs. Aha, we finished integrating this nation here. They were integrating for quite a while, but now they are part of us. That puts us a lot closer to forming the Ilkhanate now. We're going to experience more rebellions, unfortunately, and they're going to distract us from our overarching goals. There's nothing we can really do about it, though. As you can imagine, people are very unhappy due to not being cored, and it's not like we're not trying our best to core everybody, but there's just so much land. And our vassals have become too loyal due to seeing what happened to their fellows, so they won't join these wars. So we'll try to fight them as quickly as possible. Once we do enough damage, we can just grab the Annex Revolters option to pacify the enemy anyway. So they shouldn't end up being big conflicts. There we go, a very quick and easy war. One of the things that is annoying though is when I fabricate a CB on a vassal, the game doesn't actually tell me when the CB is available. For example, we normally get the banner here that says when a CB is available. We don't get that if it's a vassal, or at least our vassal. Game doesn't feel like it's appropriate to inform us, which is annoying. I would like to be informed of these things if possible. Here's another vassal we have a CB on. We'll release him, and then we'll declare war next month. With nations that are part of the Ilkhanate, we of course can get the Unify Ilkhanate CB, which makes things a lot easier. Ooh, there goes our Khan. Died at 51. He's succeeded by his son, who is better in every regard, which is nice. It does mean, of course, we're going to have the risk of the disaster happening again. We'll have to see whether it can be avoided, as always. One of the things I keep forgetting is that we can't actually use the fabricate CB, which does make things a little inconvenient when it comes to dealing with other Horde nations, because it means we can't get a casus belli on them, so we'll have to use the old no CB, which of course is not ideal, but we very much do not have an alternative. Unless we decide to just ignore those small nations that we can't get CBs on. But I don't really like ignoring my enemies. I like to destroy them, but I think we'll leave a lot of them till last. If we can't get a CB on them, they can be cleaned up once we've achieved most of our goals. And here's an event. For some reason, we're getting the spread of the Hellenic revival in Cairo. I'm not sure we should really be getting this. I mean, Byzantium doesn't even exist, does it? No, it doesn't. Did they trigger the revival before they were destroyed? Let me actually just check. I don't know. I don't see the revival existing anywhere outside of where it's currently going to spawn in Egypt. This is very strange, though. Either way, we'll say this philosophy leads souls astray, and then we'll ignore it. Hopefully, it'll just go away on its own. Oh, there's the Horde succession crisis. We were so close to avoiding it as well. We were only 7 legitimacy off. That's too bad. We'll have to hope our ruler doesn't get murdered, but it isn't unlikely. Somehow, this tiny little location here has managed to join the Middle Kingdom. Luckily, Wu doesn't care enough to intervene. We don't really want to fight their 2 million levies, if possible. So we'll declare war, crush that little nation, and pretend the whole affair didn't happen. Our truce has also ended with the Mamluks, so we can think about attacking them again. We'd like to fully just remove the Mamluks from existence if we can, and I don't see why we can't. There goes our ruler, assassinated. Too bad, because his stats were quite good. We end up in a regency because our heir is too young, but I think instead of inviting this guy to take the throne, we should say no, he's quite good. Problem is, he's a Shiite, and of the wrong culture. We are, of course, Mongols. So I think we're going to say no, we'll let him revolt. Although he can't actually revolt right now because we're already in a civil war, so I guess we skip the revolt. But what we would have liked to done is have him revolt, crush it, gain a bunch of stability and Horde unity from winning, but alas. But funnily enough, it looks like winning against this noble rebellion counts as winning the civil war. So we are going to gain a bit of stability, not enough to end the disaster, unfortunately. We need 25, and this is going to push us up to 20, which is sad, but, you know, nothing we can really do about it. Let's continue to annex our vassals. For some reason, this little nation here has also joined the Middle Kingdom. I have no idea how. I just checked, and no, I definitely don't have any mods enabled. So I'm not sure why this is happening. I'm going to blame me instead of the game. Perhaps when I made my small modification to make it so the Ilkhanate wouldn't dissolve, I messed something up. We are going to declare war though. It should be difficult for Wu to reach us, and we should be able to capitulate these guys before they do show up, or at least that's my belief / hope. If the Wu does show up, we should just be able to kind of defeat them militarily using our vast, very vast cavalry armies. Before we think about potentially facing Wu, let's see if we can't just capitulate these guys first of all. It looks like full occupying didn't give us the capitulation I was hoping for, and it didn't do much war exhaustion either. Oh well, if Wu can't get to us and we can't get to them, surely they'll just wipe peace out eventually. So I think we'll just ignore them and hope for the best. As I said, if they do rear their heads in front of us, we should be able to deal with them relatively easily, depending on how many soldiers they bring over. At the very least, winning a few battles will probably send them away. Looks like Wu's had enough. Not that anything has really happened, so they're out of here. We'll then just full annex the nation they were protecting. I guess we'll have them revoke their cause. We're going to have a revolt by the rebellious warlord, but we should just be able to crush him. He's gained quite a bit more land than I thought he would, though. But either way, once we defeat him this time, that should be the end of the civil war, at least for the moment, until it inevitably rears its head again. There we go, that's that over. I have not been keeping a track of how many rebellions this is, but I imagine it's been quite a few. Oh, but the succession was still ongoing because our ruler is a child. I hadn't thought of that. So because we don't have a ruler, the succession will just keep going. That's unfortunate, I guess. But it doesn't mean we can't do other things. And by other things, I of course mean attack the Mamluks. They've joined a bit of a coalition against us, but this is totally fine. We'll annex the Arabic nations that have dared to join, and for the rest, we'll just bully them to death, I guess. Right, I think we'll leave the war with the Mamluks here. We can't full annex them, so... Well, actually, we could take this bit of land as well, couldn't we? It would push us right up to the limit, but we could grab it and just trap them in this small bit of land. I think we'll do that. We'll finish them off when this truce ends, which will be in 15 years. Now we'll just deal with our few remaining enemies we're at war with. and then we'll experience another rival warlord revolt. The children we were in a regency for all died, so we ended up with this guy on the throne. I would like him to die before the war ends, because he's quite old at 43. So if he could die, his son, who's only 26, could come to the throne, so we won't have to risk another Horde civil war happening relatively quickly after his death. Fortunately, it's not something I really have control over. I can only really hope, so hope we shall. Yep, perfect. There goes our ruler, he gets assassinated. Hopefully his much younger son is able to live. The rival warlord revolts. Now we just need to crush him, and we'll have ended the succession crisis again. Apparently this is the 12th civil war we've had so far with the rival warlords. I feel like that might be a tad low, but maybe I'm just misremembering. These revolts do feel a tad never-ending, right? And there we go, another disaster defeated again. The real problem with these disasters isn't necessarily them happening, it's that it massively decreases the happiness of pops when they revolt, and I assume it gives us this plus 100 from winning the disaster. The problem is the malice from events seems to be able to go above 100, so we can see it's minus 157, whereas winning the disaster only gives us 100. So it makes land a lot more rebellious, a lot longer than it really would be, because it's decreased happiness so much across our realm. You can see here, even in our core provinces, or at least integrated provinces, we still have this malice, and it just never seems to go away. Fortunately, there's nothing we can really do about it. Just gotta roll with the punches, as it were. Hopefully our current ruler can live a good while, so we won't have to experience another one for a good bit. Alright, we finally defeated all those rebellions, so now we're going to continue our expansion. Where? Into the Ottomans. They do control a bit of land that we need to take to form the Ilkhanate, so it'd be nice to get it off them. I think we'll also attack Trebizond while we're at war here as well. Might be a little much because they're going to call in Bulgaria, and apparently we have a truce with Trebizond. Not sure why. I guess we won't be attacking them then. Instead, let's go for the Ottomans. We do like them a little bit, so let's insult them. Right, here we go. We're going to lose a little bit of stability because we like them a little too much, but 10 stability isn't much. The Ottomans are doing quite well in this campaign, I guess. They've taken Constantinople and moved their capital there. But their little bit of success isn't really going to stop us just rolling over them, I don't think. We'd love to take every province we need to form the Ilkhanate, but I think we're going to fall a little short, sadly. But that's not a big deal, just means we'll have to come back later. The real question will be is, how good are the Ottoman forts? Will they pose much of a challenge for us to break through? Or will we get through them relatively easily? Based on these numbers I'm thinking relatively easily. Our spy network of course helps with our siege ability. There we go, Ottoman capitulation. It looked like in the last few moments there, Trebizond joined. I guess we could extend the war out and fight them then. Depends on how fast we could do it. If we could just walk in, take their capital relatively quickly, that would be great. I don't really want to elongate the war any longer than it needs to be. Not really sure why Trebizond decided that now was the time for them to make their presence known, but let's see if we can't make their presence unknown. There we go, took a bit of sieging, but we took Trebizond. We're going to leave them alive up in their territories around the Black Sea. They can go hang out with the Crimean Emirate up there, not our problem. Now, the Ottomans. We of course want to take as much land as we can that is Ilkhanate territory, so we'll do just that. Something like this, not amazing, we'd love to take more, and we probably will take more in the future. We're now 120 or so locations off forming the Ilkhanate. We're now going to have a revolt by the rival warlord. No, we're not in a civil war. Yes, he's still coming. Ah, well here's something interesting. We've got a revolt, and it's actually brought in a few of our vassals that I didn't think were going to become rebellious, such as these guys. I was actually keeping these guys around and I was going to eat them in one war, or a few wars depending on how long it took. But since they've revolted, I guess we might as well eat into them in this war. Even if we take land from them and then make peace, they'll just revert back to being our vassal anyway, because this is a rebellion war. So we can relatively freely just take a big bite out of them without any real concern. We've been attacked by the coalition. I'm honestly surprised that they think they can fight us. I suppose our manpower is a little low at the moment from all the civil wars, but I'm still not sure they're strong enough to fight me territory. That is an annoyance because it means we're not going to be able to attack the Mamluks when our truce expired. To be fair, the truce must have expired for them to have joined the coalition. I must have not noticed. Ah well, we'll just piece them out, I think, the coalition. As always, there's next to zero reason to actually have a war with the coalition last any amount of time at all. Best just get it over and done with as fast as possible. We're only 40 locations off being able to form the Ilkhanate. We just need to find those 40, and we're likely going to find them all within the lands of our vassals. We are starting to run out of vassals we can actually attack though. Alright, that's the coalition done. Just a little bullying of the war leader was enough to get them to concede, even though they really shouldn't. I do think this is one of the flaws with the coalition system in the sense that you just beat up the leader and then that's that. Now that revolt I was talking about before, the one from the rival warlord, should finally happen, although actually it won't because we're still at war with a rebellion amongst one of our vassals. So we'll need to wait for that rebellion to end before our rebellion can finally happen. Problem is we can't declare war because of this rebellion, because it says, you know, can't declare war because you're over 95%. But rebellions keep happening, which means the rival warlords can't revolt, which means we can't declare war in a horrible infinite cycle. Finally, the warlord revolt. Now we can clear these guys out and move on with the rest of our day. I do wonder if it is a bug. It must be a bug, right? That these guys keep revolting even when I'm no longer in the civil war. And the fact that my pops keep being made rebellious by them. Again, when I'm no longer in the civil war. It wouldn't make sense for this to be intentional. I mean, maybe I'm trying to think how it could be intentional. Maybe to make it so hordes are very dysfunctional. But I feel like they'd be dysfunctional enough without it. The worst part is they always take the land up here, which means my local governor in Aleppo blows up. And every other local governor I have as well, because they can't connect to Cairo with the loss of this region. Finally, there goes the revolt. Another wave of the zombie horde, we should maybe call them, because they keep coming, defeated. We are only 40 locations off forming the Ilkhanate, I believe. Yep. Just annexing this vassal here would be enough. We might just use the Horde CB on them and release them. I think we are kind of out of other vassals we could do that on. We are improving relationship with them so we can integrate them. But as you can imagine, oh, this guy is actually can be annexed. He's got 12. But as you can imagine, because we integrate them, that it decreases the other one's happiness, making it harder to just keep integrating them because we have to improve relations. And there's so many other things I'd rather be using my diplomats for than improving relationships with my vassals. But I think we'll leave it here for today. Let's take a look at things. A lot of our nation is still uncored. That's not surprising at all. It's something we're always working on. I feel like it is getting better though. Our wealth is currently nearly 7,000, but our base tax is only around 1,300. I keep getting sabotaged because every time I try and build a local governor, he gets exploded when a revolt takes the territory he's in. If we take a look at our control map mode, you can see it's all in Egypt. We do have pretty good proximity spread. We're hitting that 100. It does have diminishing returns after 100, but at the very least at 100, it essentially decreases the cost of passing through a location by half. So if we look at this location, it's at 40, losing 28 because of the river, bringing it to 12, which is then being about halved due to proximity spread, which brings it to 5.59. So that does help. If I could just get a local governor down somewhere, and if they could stick around long enough without being killed by a rebellion, then we could definitely get quite good control around. But alas, as I said, I'm being sabotaged by those rebellions, especially since I'll remind you, we're not in the succession crisis, but they just keep coming. And there's also the other rebels, but they're less of an issue now, I think. I guess there's always the Shiites, they just don't like us. That's understandable. Another problem we have as a horde, we actually lack a lot of the things that we can increase crown power with. Normally we'd have all sorts of buildings that we could build in our capital that would empower our crown power. We'd also have all the laws, but we don't really have as many laws because we're a horde. I'm also avoiding putting our members into the cabinet. I'm prioritizing putting the best possible people so we can integrate faster. It might increase our crown power, but it wouldn't really serve us well, I don't think, slowing down our rate of integration. On the economic front, we're doing quite well. As you can imagine, our wealth is really increasing our cost of court and our diplomatic spending. So we're trying to keep both on the lower end. But either way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.